Three, two, one. Hello, everyone, and welcome back once again to the Great Scott Podcast. Today, I am joined by Hollywood's bad guy, Mr. Jasper Cole. How's it going, Jasper?
Hey, buddy. How are you? Thanks so
I'm
much.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. I love your show. I've been listening. I just listened to the interview with Naomi Grossman, who I love.
Oh, I love Naomi. Yeah, she's
Yeah.
a bad person herself in movies.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because she, like her, I always thought I was going to end up doing comedy, and we both end up being like scary projects, playing these scary people. So go figure.
One thing that I had asked her, and I'll ask you as well, is are you good at auditioning? Because she said she's bad at auditioning.
It's hard to say. I mean, I guess I booked jobs from auditioning, so I guess I'm okay at it. I don't like it. I mean, I don't, I love the whole self-tape thing now where we do pretty much our auditions at home. And it had kind of started going that way about a year before the pandemic. So that I tend to like a little more, but I'm sort of in the middle. I know some actors just hate it, some really love it. It's sort of it comes with the territory, I guess.
Are you kind of like in the middle of love and hating it as far as auditioning goes?
Yeah, I mean, it's you have to kind of learn. I tell actors you kind of have to just make peace with it, because we all know there's some really great actors who don't audition well. Then likewise, there's some people who would audition really well, but they can't necessarily do much more when they get on the set. So it's kind of,
So it's a catch-22, in other words.
yeah. So I'm kind of blessed to be sort of in the middle. Like it doesn't paralyze me, but it's such a crapshoot. I mean, now with
Yeah.
they get submissions from not just the agents and the managers, it's all over the world, and the self submissions. I always tell people just to get a effing audition is the win now. It's so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. How have things gone for you in the pandemic? Have you worked much during the pandemic?
Well, it's interesting. First of all, it seems like 10 years. So I try to think of like the year. I didn't work. I did in 2020. I did a film called The Fall with Jeffrey Dean Morgan. That's
Oh yeah.
hopefully gonna Scott Mann from The Heist was the director. That was my first job, and that was pre-vaccine or whatever. And then really, I didn't work again until 2021 when we shot the new season of The Family Business, and then we did some reshoots on The Fall. So it's been pretty, but it's interesting. I kind of made a little breakthrough into voiceovers over this period, which again, that's a whole other genre where people talk about how hard it is to break in, and it kind of fell in my lap. So, that's been a blessing, because again, you do that at home mostly. I have my voiceover closet, they call it, where you go in the closet and you have to cover yourself up for the sound, that whole thing. So, but it's interesting because in the voiceover world, I'm playing the nicest guys, the friendly people, the sort of that harmless kind of person, because my voice doesn't always match this. Which on camera helps me sometimes, because I might be the bad guy, but I think I'm usually the bad guy that maybe you like a little, or there's a little vulnerability there or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you up at the top of the show, how did this whole bad guy thing start for you?
Wow, isn't it? Again, it's like we go into this business thinking we're going to go one way, and this is Friday was my 34th year. I moved to LA in 1987, and the first morning was the big Whittier earthquake, which was, I thought, I don't think this is a good sign. The girlfriend I moved here with at the time, she thought it was a great sign. She thought it meant we were shaking up Hollywood, but I was 23 from Georgia, and I was like, let me get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
But we had written a play, a comedy, and we were co-starring it in Georgia, and we brought it out here, and it was just like a Schitt's Creek, that kind of heightened comedy. And so I always thought comedy would be my thing. So long story short, really I'd say the first 10, 12 years of my career, I was playing like the sidekick, the friend. I was lucky to work, but I did the temp jobs. I was a permanent temp at Ogilvy and Mather Advertising. I was part-time. Everyone knew I was an actor. I was basically running my acting career from the front desk, but they would let me go on auditions. And when I booked a job, I could come back. And so it wasn't until 95. First of all, I sound so old. It was 95 when I got my first pilot. And I thought, I think I might be able to make my living at this. So it was really when I turned 40, about 17 years ago, something, I don't know what happened. Like my face changed. This whole thing started happening, and I booked this Michael Eisner, one of the very first web series called Prom Queen, which was one of the first out of the gate. And I played my very first bad stepfather to one of the leads, and I got good response from it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to lean into it. So I grew my hair out, I grew the beard, and it was just casting directors suddenly had to start knowing me as like, oh, that's Jasper from before. I had to sort of reinvent myself.
Yeah.
And it's been a godsend to be typecast, because I tell actors, for TV and film, you kind of want to get typecast. You need to pick a lane and go in that lane. I kind of feel like I guess you don't waste time, but if I learned that earlier on, I think I would have worked a lot more. But I don't know. I was that actor that people used to say to me all the time, Jasper, when you get older, you're going to work all the time. And I used to think, okay, well, what about the next 20 years? What am I supposed to do? I heard Naomi talking about Melissa McCarthy on,
Oh yeah.
And just, I mean, on just a small scale of how she just kept showing up at the Groundlings and kept doing her little shows. And finally, they were like, so it's timing, this career is all about timing, I think.
Yeah, you're telling me. That's pretty much show business.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I've actually been a production assistant before with stuff in California. Yeah, you're not joking. I mean, for people who want to get into this business, it really is all about timing and raw talent.
Staying the course. It's I think with me, they finally were just like, God damn, is it Jasper again? Just somebody give him a job, please. And then, work begets work, and it's a small, it's a small world and a small community. So I tell young actors all the time, I'm trying not to be that old guy on the set that's talking to these young actors, because a lot of what I may say to them, the industry's changed so much, because how it was for me is not how it is for them. They have social media and YouTube, and they can just get their stuff out there so quickly now and quote get discovered. But I try to tell young actors, stop saying this whole thing about when I make it, because it's, for me, I guess I was sort of making it all along, but I was just so hyper focused on making it that I didn't even enjoy a lot of the moments along the way.
Yeah.
And people will bring up projects from like the early 90s, and it's not that I don't remember doing them, but I don't have a great memory of it, because I was probably already there thinking about, this is not big enough, it's not good enough, why am I not the lead, when am I going to become the series regular, all those tapes in our head.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so out of all the roles that you've had as far as being the Hollywood bad guy, is there one for you that stands out that you just really enjoyed doing the most?
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like for career-wise, when I did MacGruber in 2010, that was,
or rather, let me rephrase that. Which one paid you the most?
Oh, MacGruber. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it's my favorite. Come to think of it, that may be why. And it continues to pay.
Yeah,
That's a little film that just like it didn't find its audience then, but it's found its audience now. And
yeah,
there's a series on Peacock. So, it, yeah, I think in terms of the trajectory of my career, that was a big step. It got me in the room with the Coen brothers, and I got to go in a lot of meetings after that, even though, the part didn't end up being a lot in the movie. A lot of that was working with dear sweet Val Kilmer. But
yeah. He's not doing too well right now.
I first of all, if anyone has not seen the documentary, his documentary, and I don't know if it's Hulu or Amazon or what, I've got all those apps, so I'm not sure which platform it's on, but it's a really
Yeah.
riveting
Oh, it was
documentary.
touching. That was one of the most touching things I've seen. I mean, for anyone that doesn't know, Val cannot talk right now. He has a little throat problem, and doesn't look good for Val. So I think that was a project of love for Val. Just
And he had his kids involved and his
yeah,
ex-wife, and
yeah,
it was fascinating. First of all, I pick a documentary over, as a viewer, I'm an unscripted and a docu-series person. Maybe because I work in the scripted world, and I watch something and I'm thinking, oh my God, how hot was it that day? Or
yeah.
how long were they in those outfits? Or what was the food like? Who got food poisoning? That's where my brain goes. So yeah. But I think MacGruber was probably one of my favorite experiences. I've been lucky. I mean, I do these, like I got to do this little low budget film called Hansel and Gretel, where I worked with Dee Wallace, and I was a mute the whole movie. I had a twin brother and we were mutes. And that was one of the greatest challenges of playing this character without ever speaking, other than a lot of grunting and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I've been so blessed, honestly. I TV for me, I love TV. So, getting to do a lot of the network shows, the characters on there are great. I,
Yeah, that's
my
that's one
goal is,
thing. I mean, which I I know what I want to ask, but I know that the question I'm wanting to ask is kind of like you like both sides. I was going to ask you which side do you like most doing, the TV or the film?
well, luckily, thankfully, there's really not a lot of difference, except, I mean, on the 1 hour shows, you really do film it, it's filmed. Um, Back in my early career, when I used to get cast on the 3 camera comedies, I loved sitcoms because it was like, I come from theater, so it was like the best of both. I rarely, I haven't done I haven't actually done a 4 camera show in years. So the pace of TV is a lot faster. I think I'm best on the first 1 or 2 takes. So the more takes we do, I feel I just sort of get worse. So I like it when it's, let's move it and go, hit it
Yeah,
and quit
yeah,
it. Now in TV too, they will set up 3 and 4. They'll set up their master, their close up. They'll set up 4 cameras um, at one time. So they're getting all their shots in 1 or 2 takes, which is really good. I tell actors, don't get on a TV set hoping or expecting any kind of real direction. It's rare. It's great if you get a director that might give you a little direction, but pretty much when you self-tape, whatever you do on that self-tape, that's pretty much what they want you to do when you get on set. And then if you do that the first time, and then they'll adjust you. But I remember when I first started in TV, coming from theater, I thought it was going to be like we were going to rehearse, and I remember I did this pilot and we did like 1 take, and they're like, check the gate, moving on. And I was like, moving on to what? Do we do that? So now I love the fast pace of it.
and not as many. Well, I mean, I'll say this for one thing for film. I mean, it's a lot of sitting around for film as well.
Yeah, they do. They pay us really to wait, which I'll wait all day. It's fine. I'm not complaining, but that is true. The only, I mean, the little downside about that is, you hurry up and wait. You hurry up and wait. You're all like try to keep your energy up. You've got this big scene, and of course, then it's always like when I did American Horror Story, and I remember like it. Then it was like, we're losing the light, Jasper. We got to go. Like you hurry, 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 and then when they finally get to you, they're just throwing you in there. Like you got to be able to roll with it because they have no time left now. So let's just
Yeah.
get it and go.
Yeah. I got you. So I saw your finger was bandaged up. What happened to you there?
Oh my God, sorry. Well, it's I wish there could be some amazing story, but I live I live in Palm Springs in LA, but Palm Springs is really my full time. So out here, there are no street lights at night, which I mean, in the neighborhoods, which people like because it's
Yeah.
you don't have light. But I was walking. I'm a big walker, and I was walking, and I turned down a street that I'm not familiar with, and I kid you not, like there is a I well, first of all, I just went over top of something. I didn't know what it was, and I landed down on my finger, and I have something called a mallet finger where the tendon got ripped. And so it's like your finger ends up bending like that. So I've had to keep this. Look, it's that finger too.
Well, screw
But it
you
was a
too. Well, screw
it
you
was
too, Jasper.
it was a fire hydrant sitting in the middle of the sidewalk. It is just sitting there. That's where they put it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
so I've had 9 weeks of wearing this thing.
Oh man. So when it's supposed to come off for you? Is it
Well,
anytime
this
soon?
Thursday I go see the doctor and
Oh,
probably
okay.
going to have a little surgery
Ugh,
to
man.
repair it. But
Wow.
I keep forgetting I have it on there. So
Yeah, I
I'm
hear
trying to
you.
keep it out of the camera.
Now, so all these bad guys, I mean, I was listening to another interview that you did, and so one person had asked you, do you research your roles as far as what you do? And you said, thankfully, none of what I mean, so you've been around a lot of people with addictions and friends and family with that. And so that pretty much is that is your research pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, I think any of us now in this day and time, we dealt with, well, I play homeless a good bit. The homeless crisis, especially in LA, is just
Oh, yeah, no
beyond
joke.
anything I've ever
Yeah.
seen. And what I try to do is, I don't want to just always do that Hollywood homeless thing. If you talk to homeless people, some are debutantes and trust fund kids, and it's not necessarily all mental illness and drug addicts. So yeah, I try to I this is my method. I start from the outside in. A big part of me is I first want to know, what is the character going to look like? What am I going to be wearing? What kind of shoes? Shoes are a huge part for me because when you wear shoes as people, it affects how we move, how we walk, how we carry ourselves. So
Yeah.
I'm more of an exterior inside actor first, and if I can get the look down, then I sort of work on where he's coming from. And honestly, though, you get on the set, it's like, Jasper, just say your lines and hit your mark because we all need to get home in 10 out 12 hours. So
Yeah.
don't make a meal out of it. It's not brain surgery, dude. I mean, this is all the stuff you can do, all the work internally you want, but just don't get on the set and talk about it. Nobody has no Joe, the Teamster guy, who's pulling the cables, does not need to hear about your mythology or your research. He wants
No,
to talk
nor
about
does he
the
care.
Lakers game and the Dodgers and shut the fuck up and let's go home.
Nor does Joe, the cable guy, care.
No, didn't give a damn, honestly.
No, not really. No.
So I have no illusions about where actors are, where we are on the hierarchy. It cracks me up when I see these like diva actors, I'm like, dude, you are so replaceable. They've
Yeah.
got 3 people on hold right now that they will call immediately.
Yeah, right.
Scott Baio is on hold. He will step in at any.
Scott Baio, is he looking for work?
Willie Ames and Scott Baio are ready to suit up at any point. And all due respect to both of them, but I'm just saying, you are
Yeah.
not special, Yeah.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. So one of the roles that I loved you in was The Rookie. You had played a guy named Crackhead Fred.
Crackhead Fred. Love that show. In fact, there's still talk. This is the other thing that happens. You go in a lot of these shows and they always tell you, oh, Fred's coming back, because you've got a wife named Wilma and we're bringing Fred back. So I'm waiting everybody on the rookie. I'm ready to suit up as crackhead Fred. Yeah, Fred was, I thought he was, I played him as sort of a sweet guy. I thought he's in rehab and he's gotten his 20 to 30-day chip or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he was genuinely felt bad. He couldn't help the cops with what they were looking for. So that's a great show. I mean, that's an example. I have worked with those producers, Jonathan Littman and Dan Cannon, all those guys. I mean, I did CSI, The Forgotten. You go back and think about, that's the other thing. Like, you work with these producers, and I might audition for a show 30 times before I ever, if ever, book a job. Like years ago on The Shield, the running joke I auditioned so much for The Shield that the casters, Wendy Widman, would say, Jasper, do you have a parking space here on the lot? Never booked it. But then like a couple of years later, I booked The Forgotten and CSI. So, if they're having you back continuously, just to all actors listening, they like you. You're on the right path. They just have to find the right part for you. And there's so much that happens, the showrunner, the executive producer on a show has the final say. It's really not the director. And, the showrunner has other actors they want to work with and friends. And just know that if they keep calling you back, it's not because you're a loser. They would not call you back ever if you stuck up the room. So
absolutely. Now let's talk about one-on-one with Jasper Cole.
Oh yes. Now, Sydney, there's an example where I started that because I wanted people to see my real personality, which is a lot lighter and friendly and fun. And I'm very opinionated. I'm very much into pop culture, and I was really into politics during the last 5 or 6 years. Now my guy won, so I don't have much to say. That's typical, right? Oh, the guy I liked is in the office, so everything's perfect, which it's not. But I'm not quite as obsessed with it. But yeah, so we're in our 10th season. It was called On the Set with Jasper Cole, which was all entertainment related guests. It was a 2-hour live show, and we had lots of guests. And then 6 years ago, I took it down to just one-on-one with Jasper Cole, and so I could be a lot more intimate and have these kind of discussions. The other show was like a big party, train wreck, fun, and this is much more one-on-one with me. And I have a co-host, Ralph Cole Jr. And we're live. We used to be in the studio, but now we're just live every Thursday night at 6 p.m. Pacific. And then, we're on all the platforms, iTunes, iHeart, Spotify. You can go to jaspercole.com and there's an icon for the show there. I love doing it. I've met so many amazing people, and like I'm sure you feel the same way. It's just great because I think of someone like, man, I'd really like to meet Jodie Watley or something. That's just a guest of mine I've had, and you just think, can I get her? And then you're having this great conversation with these iconic people, and for me, they don't have to be celebrities either. Like I have an ongoing series about the homeless crisis. It's called the Heroes and Horrors of Home. Now it's called the Unhoused or the Houselessness. I do that. Try to do that once every 3 months. And then I have a show called Breaking the News where we just talk politics. So yeah, I love doing it.
Yeah, was that something that you had started like during the pandemic, as far as just keeping yourself busy?
Well, actually, I started at 10 years when I was on the press junket for MacGruber. I was doing a radio show in LA, and the guy that owns the station said, "Have you ever thought about doing a radio show?" And I said, "About what? The hell wants to hear me talk?" And that's when we came up with the idea about the entertainment industry, because I've been around a long time. So that's how the first show started. And this was great during the pandemic to be able to be home doing it, on Zoom and on the phone. So all my guests now call in or Zoom in. And it's because before they would have to come into the studio in LA.
Yeah.
So another kind of not great thing, but something good that came out of the pandemic was I think having more guests available because they can call in.
And you said that one-on-one is on every platform. Can go to jaspercole.com and they can find one-on-one with you. And
Yeah, all the past archive shows and upcoming stuff, and then we have a one-on-one Jasper Cole page on Facebook, Instagram.
I'll be sure to include the link to it when I post this interview.
Oh, thank you. Okay, yeah, yeah, we
Absolutely.
love. I love the fans and the people, and it's just been fun to show a different side of myself that's not always killing people or getting stabbed or shot
Or
myself.
yeah,
I
true.
rarely survive anything. So that's why the family business, I'm so thrilled because they didn't kill me in the season. I mean, I'm still alive, which means hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll I'll be back in season 4. But it's been years since I've not been killed on a project.
So you're like a human cat with 12 different lives.
I have a lot of death scenes on my reel. It's interesting. You try to not do the same thing every time, but I mean, how many different faces can you have when you're being stabbed or shot?
True, true. Well, Jasper, thank you so much for your time, sir. This has been a pleasure.
It's an honor to meet you. Thank you. Keep up your great work with the podcast and everything you're doing.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Have a good one. Take care.